You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, no, I love you for that. Honest and selfless, I don't know if this helps it, but good job, you're doing a good job, good job, you're doing a good job. Don't get too down, the world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah.
That was Unity of Washington, D.C.'s Sanctuary Choir singing, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." There's a fountain of blessings that are constantly being outpoured for us. And it is up to us to receive it. Good morning, beloved ones, and welcome to Unity of Washington, D.C. I'm Reverend Sylvia Sumter, and it is my honor to be with you this morning. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for opening your hearts and your mind and your spirit, being present in this moment, not only to receive your fountain of blessings, but hopefully to receive a wonderful message. I always say in life, there's a blessing and a lesson in every experience. So thank you for being with us this morning. I always want you to recognize that our prayer team is still praying with you. Our meditation team is still available. We're still holding and keeping the high watch for you. If you have a prayer request or a prayer need, please do call the church or go onto our website and send in that prayer request, because we are still gathering the collective energy and holding the vibrations of power and peace and love and joy and of the unity spirit. We are still here as God is still present. Good is still present. So, beloved ones, I ask, as I have been asking you several mornings of late, how are you doing? How are you doing? And I'm asking not simply to follow some social polite greeting, how you doing? I'm asking because I really want to know how you are doing. And I also want to stimulate in you what I'm calling some sort of self-check-in. When I'm asking you how are you doing, I'm trying to really have you stop for a moment and to reflect in your own inner being, to see what your conscious inner state is, or to actually become aware of your inner state. Oftentimes we aren't aware of what's really going on inside of us because we're so caught up in the activity that is taking place outside of ourselves. And we're really kind of conditioned as a society to somehow to keep going and to somehow push through the moment and to buckle up, knuckle down, get it done. When the going gets tough, what do the tough do? The tough get going. And this is sort of a mindset that is prevalent in our society, and that's all well and good. It's all well and good until, of course, the universe steps in and says, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Slow down for a minute. Pause. Time out. We need to pause. You need to stop, or maybe you need to rest for a moment. Just put things on. Take a deep breath to breathe into the experience or the moment. Let's just stop. And that's fine too, because that's all a part of the process, the flow of life. We move out, we're active, and then there's a time in which we must become still and be reflective. But sometimes we forget that latter part and we're still going because, let's face it, life in the 21st century, is no joke. Everything is speeded up. We've got to move, we've got to do, we've got to be, we've got to get in there and make it happen. But what happens when life is also telling us and giving us signals it's time to pull back for a moment? You plant a seed and the seed grows and there's activity, but there's a time in which the seed must rest and be watered and nurtured so that it can gather the energy that is necessary. Or the butterfly, the caterpillar that moves into the cocoon and gathers all its life force and energy in a quiet time so that it can spring forth again into a new life, into a new being, into a new creation. So there's always this ebb and this flow of life. The challenge comes when we fail to recognize all of the signals that the universe may be giving us. Or if we fail to recognize, sometimes we know that we're getting signals from the universe, but we choose to ignore them. And then we find ourselves in a situation that's perhaps stressful or not to our particular liking. And let's face it, the times that we are living in right now, it's a very stressful time because there's so much change happening on a daily basis. Everything is changing daily, moment by moment. We are experiencing a scary life and death pandemic, right? That at any moment, perhaps we're fearful of catching this virus. We see that we're not able to gather with our friends and family and feel connected to those whom we love and those who offer support and sustenance for our journey. Because no man is an island. We need one another. We need to be in connection with the sacred other. And so we're feeling a little stress at having to, quote unquote, socially distance ourselves. And I like to rephrase it like physically distance rather than socially distance, because we need to find ways to socially connect, because it's important for the body. So we're feeling a sense of stress at not being able to gather freely with friends and family. We are feeling a sense of substantive changes in our life and work day, everyday life and work life routines. You know, some parents are having to homeschool, and so the work-life balance is being reordered, or how we do things or how we work normally is changing, and we're out of our routine, out of our sense of normalcy. Some people are dealing with job loss or a sense of job security or insecurity issues around that, and they're looking at how can they feed their families. That's certainly a great amount of stress if you're in that predicament. Some people are dealing with the loss of loved ones and having to grieve, and that's stressful. We have political upheaval that we all know, and that's also adding. Everything is changing in our political life. Every day there's something new. And we know that we are also experiencing the calls for social justice and racial equality. That's prevalent, and that's up on the scene, front and center. Not to mention all of our individual personal life challenges, our personal issues that we may be experiencing. Because, you know, whether all these things are taking place out here, we each have our personal stuff to deal with. Maybe it's relationships that have gone awry. Many people are finding that now that they're home with their significant others, it's a whole brand new thing that's happening, that they have to learn one another all over again. There's been a sad statistic that domestic violence is on the rise because the abuser and the abused are now thrust together. So everything is topsy-turvy, and we've got our own personal lives as well as all of what is happening in the larger. The microcosm and the macrocosm is all being shifted and changed and called to front and center, and that's a lot. That is a lot. And while each of these things I mentioned is extremely important, and it has to be addressed, but doing so in a healthy manner is paramount. Doing so in a way that enables you to move through this experience of life at this time on the planet in a way that can actually help us to thrive and survive is extremely important. And being aware of your inner state is key. It's key, because we can be inundated with all of this stuff from the outer that we are not in tune with what is really taking place within my own being. We all know that an undue and a prolonged amount of stress can produce severe damage to our physical as well as our psychological and emotional sense of well-being. Prolonged stress is not meant for us to experience. In fact, other than the flight or flight syndrome that usually kicks in when we are under a certain amount of stress that lies within us to ensure that we will survive any impending danger. And so the body is heightened, the mind is heightened, and we're kind of ready. But we are not meant to be or live in that state of consciousness for a prolonged amount of time. It's just not a part of who we are, you see. So our natural state of being is one of well-being. Our natural state of being really speaks to being calm and peaceful and feeling connected, feeling a sense of fulfillment, feeling ease, feeling a sense of harmony, and feeling a sense of growth and unfoldment. This is the natural state of wholeness and wellness and oneness is our natural way of being. And so we have this two states juxtaposed to one another and not knowing how to get back to the one that is natural to who we are. Because, sometimes when life throws us out of balance, and I was thinking about, does life throw us out of balance, or does it show us where we are out of balance? Because everything in life, including growth, is for our evolution. But sometimes we think, oh, life is throwing me this. And no, it's showing you where you are out of balance. And so it's up for us to recognize and to be able to see what needs to be happening at this moment, what needs to be adjusted in our life and in our affairs. So when life shows you or, what's out of balance in your life, or throws you, quote unquote, if we want to say that, out of balance, then it's up to us to find those ways to bring ourselves back into alignment with our natural state of being, back into alignment with our natural sense of well-being, of wholeness and oneness, right? So, I was thinking about this whole thing. The only thing that might, when life shows us certain things, that might be a clue for us, is we don't want to forget about, yes, the state of being should be peaceful, calm, harmonious, connected, a sense of oneness. But we can't forget about the growth capacity, the growth potential within our being, because part of our way of being is also to evolve and to grow and to change. Now, if this growth energy is part of our nature, sometimes the growth itself will throw us out of all that aforementioned stuff, the peace, the harmony, the sense of well-being, the feeling connected, feeling a sense of fulfillment. It throws it all out of whack. Growth can do that for us. It disturbs everything. That seed that is trying to grow has to disturb the soil if we want to see a plant. And so sometimes, this growth experience is teaching us how to move through and maneuver through whatever inner disturbance that we have. So all disturbance is not limited. All disturbance is not negative. Remember I shared the teaching about chemicalization? When a high thought or a new thought meets an old thought, there's chemicalization, there's commotion, there's disturbance until that new energy is born or a new thought then takes place. And there's a disturbance in the spirit, a disturbance in the mind until finally the higher supersedes the lower vibration. That new thought is able to take hold and the old thought subsides and is able to fade away. So growth then, it isn't always pretty, and it isn't always easy, but it is inevitable. So how do we move through all of this experience of what's happening in the outer and being aware of what's happening in our inner state? So again, I say that doing these self-checks every so often is vital for you so that you can make sure that you're moving through in a healthy, harmonious, clear, and conscious way. So what you want to be able to do then is to ask yourself certain things like, what am I feeling right now? Very often, we don't take the time to assess, what am I feeling right now? We just go. The feelings take over or the emotions take over and off we go. But what am I feeling and why, right? We might want to ask ourselves, what is my overall state of being? Overall, am I feeling a sense of well-being and peace and harmony and connectedness? Is my body trying to give me signals? Is my body telling me something? You know, is everything well in my physical being? Do I have upset stomach, or have I developed some kind of physical malady? What is my body trying to tell me or signal to me? What's the quality of my emotional state? Am I anxious or am I peaceful? Am I content or is it depression or whatever? Because things can mask as other things. And so getting this sense of what is happening. Am I sleeping too much or am I sleeping too little? Either one of those can be a signal for you, right? If you're sleeping too little, it might be because you're in a state of anxiety and the mind can't quiet down. Or if you're sleeping too much, the mind has decided, well, we're just going to shut this thing down and we're going to sleep it through. So being aware of what's taking place. Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I feeling burned out? Or am I feeling energized and ready to go, strengthened in my spirit? It goes without saying that when we do this inner check of self, that we have to bring in all three components of our nature. It goes without saying that getting enough food and eating right and getting enough rest, sleeping, getting a good night's sleep, resting when the body needs to rest, and also exercising and moving because the body needs to rest, but the body needs to move. Exercises releases the proper endorphins to keep us going, not in a stressful way, but it helps to relieve the stress. So all of those kinds of things we know are essential for maintaining good physical health, and we're aware of that. But what about how we are managing our stress levels? How are we managing our psychological and our spiritual sense of well-being? Are we doing that? And what is it that we can do to maintain those aspects of our being so that our lives begin to feel as if we're in balance and on point? See, when things get out of control, we may find ourselves trying to manage it all and keep all the balls in, what do they say, juggling, in space, right? We're trying to manage all the balls. I got the children over here, got the job over here. Oh, this is calling, my neighbors here. I got to do this. And we're trying to keep everything in the air. And we forget about self. And when that happens, what's the one thing, there are many things, but what's one thing that people usually tell us when we're trying to frantically keep it all together? What do they tell us the most? They say, you know what, wait a minute, just breathe. Just take a breath. Slow it down. And why? Because breathing is a powerful and natural mechanism that enables us to bring ourselves back into alignment. Deep breathing calms the body. It brings the physical body into a state of calm. It can restore the nervous system and all our other systems as well, but it can restore and soothe the nervous system. It can bring, when we breathe deeply, it brings oxygen to the heart and to the brain, those two organs that we need for life. And so breathing brings fresh oxygen to the brain, fresh oxygen to the body, so that, the lack of oxygen to the brain and lack of oxygen to the heart means a heart attack and, brain dead. So we need to have a revitalization of these very vital organs. And breathing then clears the mind when we have a sense of confusion and overload. Breathing deeply all of a sudden begins to clear the mind, and it enables us to be fully present. See, breathing is the key to life. There are two favorite scriptures that I've often quoted for myself, and they come from the book of Job. And this first scripture from Job is from Job 33, verse 4, and it says this: The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. The Spirit of God made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. I love it. And in Job 32, verse 8, it says, "But there is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty gives them understanding." So these scriptures are saying, wow, the Spirit gives me breath and it gives me life. It gives me my physical being. And the breath of the Almighty also gives me inspiration and understanding and wisdom and knowingness and knowledge and light. See, life and inspiration, or the inspiration is simply the infilling of spirit. But life and this infilling capacity of the life of God, it comes from the breath of God. It is what makes us alive. Genesis 2:7 says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." We are created to be living souls. And so let me see if I can put this all together, because I do have a point and I am going somewhere, but I want to put this together. We're here to be living souls. Now, we are spirit, soul, and body, right? That's our threefold nature. We are spiritual beings, we are beings with a mind or a soul or awareness, and we have a physical expression. That's our threefold nature: spirit, soul, and body. Now, the spirit, that is our divine nature, our divinity. It is the animating life force of God that indwells us. It's the Spirit of God, the life force of God that indwells us, right? And it gives us life. It animates us. It is the moving part. It's enabling us to move in the Spirit. This is why the song says, when the Spirit says move, I'm going to move. When the Spirit says move, I'm going to sing. It's the animating, moving force, expressive of God's life and energy in our own being. That's our spirit, our connection to God, our oneness with the divine, our divine nature, the livingness of God in and through and as us now, right? The scripture says, in God I live, I move, and I have my being. That's spirit, right? So then we have the soul. And the soul, as we see it in unity, in some New Thought denominations, because every denomination has its own definition of what they think the soul is, and that's fine, it's all good. But for our purposes here, in unity, we see the soul as the sum total of our awareness. It is our consciousness, right? It is how we know. It is the knowingness of God that indwells us. It is our consciousness. And it is made up, your soul is made up of all of your thoughts and your feelings and your attitudes and your beliefs and your perceptions, right? It's what makes you, you. Your soul and my soul are different. Our spirits are the same, carry the same essence of God. But the soul is particular to each individual's accumulation and awareness of thoughts, feelings, attitude. But it is our ability to bring all of this into our own life experience. Mr. Fillmore puts it this way when describing the soul. He said, the soul is fed by thought. And then he says, true soul food is the word, capital W, the Word of God. The Word of God, which properly appropriated, makes the soul immortal. Meaning that when we begin to feast on and feed our own awareness and our consciousness with the Word of God, with the divine qualities of God, right? then those qualities of life and abundance and substance and peace and wholeness and health and all of these qualities and principles, when we appropriate that into our being, into our awareness and our consciousness, into our soul, then the soul becomes immortal. It's very powerful. So what's being said this morning is that your soul or your consciousness is what you use to bring the spirit, or your spirit, right, into expression, into manifestation, into your life, into your affairs, into the things that you're doing, into that expression. So, and the outer expression is called the body, right? So it's the soul. We use the soul, our awareness, to access the spirit and to bring that spirit into our awareness and into also the body, which is simply, the body, of course, is the outer manifestation or the outer expression of everything that is within. It shows up in the outer, in the physical form, in the physical realm, in the material realm. We call that the body, right, in the carnal realm. And so the process is, the spirit is all around us. The substance of God is everywhere present. We use our soul, our awareness, our consciousness to appropriate divine ideas, the essence of God, and to bring that into not only our physical being and into our awareness, but out into the manifest realm, into our lives, into our situations, into our circumstances. It's a very powerful process. So when the body is tired or fatigued, it's a signal, perhaps, to bring more spirit into it. And likewise, when you find that the mind is fatigued, or you're having maybe emotional or psychological fatigue or whatever that may be, that too is a signal to bring more spirit into the mind. Spirit into your awareness, spirit into your consciousness. And let me be clear about this. While your consciousness can sort of get out of balance because it's what you think, feel, believe, and so you could be thinking erroneous thoughts or whatever, and your body can get out of alignment as well. But let's be clear, your spirit is never out of alignment. Your spirit does not get fatigued, right? So this is the thing. It's the animating force of God, and anything that is the energy and force of God can never be depleted, exhausted, or anything of that nature. Now, when the body and the mind are out of alignment, it may feel like to us that our spirit is fatigued. We don't have any energy and whatever, we're disconnected. It may feel that all of a sudden, the mind may feel that it is stressed, that it is overextended, or whatever it is. And it may feel like the spirit is empty, your spirit is empty, but your spirit is never empty. Your spirit is what you are breathing in right now. And so I like to say, fear not. When you find that happening, all this stuff that's taking place out here, and I know for some people this is overwhelming. But I say, fear not. Because the Spirit of the living God is with you, and it is within you. And it is with you always, and it is within you always. And we have a built-in natural mechanism to access it. You can access the living spirit and energy of God. And you do so, you can bring more of that God presence and energy into your awareness. And how do we do it? We simply do it with the holy breath of God. It's very simple. We do it by breathing consciously, breathing purposefully, taking in the breath of the Almighty, that holy animating force, taking it into our awareness, taking it into the body. See, the ancients of the East knew the power of the breath. They knew the power of how to call forth spirit into your situation, into your physical being, into your outer being. They understood how to use the breath to bring revitalization to the mind, revitalization to the body, inspiration, awareness, revelations. They understood that. They understood that the breath was healing and it was the restorative energy of God. They knew of its restorative power. And so they would use it often. You had sometimes ancient yogis who could master the breath and therefore master their physical being and master anything that they found themselves, any situation and circumstance that they might have found themselves in. It's understanding. And so, friends, whenever we get stuck, whenever we are faced with challenges or changes or whatever it might be, what is on our ability is, instead of finding yourself holding your breath, because sometimes when stuff is overwhelmed, we just hold our breath. You know, when you're shocked, and we hold the breath, right? Or sometimes when things are too much, we get into you having a panic attack. It's erratic breathing. We start breathing too fast, too much, too quick. That is not well at all. What we need to do is to begin to practice conscious breathing to find our way back. Conscious breathing to find our way back into wholeness, back into balance, back into divine expression. Breathing is key. Breathing is life. Breathing is, as Mr. Fillmore says in the Revealing Word, he says it is the inner flow that pulsates through the whole being. It is the silent movement of God within our being. It's the movement of God within our being. And it's a flow that pulsates and moves us. Now, when I was meditating and doing my own self-check-in, I kept thinking about what was happening in the world. And I find this so fascinating and so interesting, and that it is metaphorically really poignant for us. Because what I call the two major points that we are at in terms of transition and transformation in life, both of them involve some level of the breath. They both involve the breath. First, we have a global pandemic, right, with the coronavirus, and it's all over the world, which then, for many people, attacks the respiratory system of the physical being, so that people primarily have a hard time. They're unable to breathe, and they're unable to just sort of take enough. Those who are experiencing it at a deep level have a severe case of it, have weakened immune systems, have a hard time breathing. They can't get enough breath to sustain them and to keep them alive. That's deep. So that's all over, but it's the breath. And then the other level of, I consider a major transformation or a major point of transition that awakened millions and millions of people all over the world. There was something about this particular incident that awakened people. And of course, I'm speaking of the death and murder of George Floyd, whom the world got to watch the breath of life being choked out of him. And we got to hear his cry, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." We got to hear his cry for life. We got to hear him cry for the one who brought him into life, his mama. And someone said when he cried his mama, every woman upon the earth woke up and heard that cry. I don't have children, but I heard that cry. That was a child of God calling and saying, "I can't breathe." And it woke everybody up on the planet. That's deep. Mother Earth is gasping for air. Her rivers and her oceans and the air itself are polluted. The ozone layer is burning off so that the land is being burned and dried, and there's no moisture and breath in the earth itself. Her forest and her trees Those things that give oxygen and breath to the earth and to its people are being cut down. So that Mother Earth is saying, I can't breathe. And when Mother Earth can't breathe, we can't breathe. This is deep, right? But here I say this, fear not. Fear not, because God is simply waiting for us to inhale. God is waiting for us to inhale. Get this. When God, it says in Genesis, but when God breathed the breath of life into our nostrils, it was only when we took it in, when we inhaled it, that we became living souls. That's a powerful image, friends. God breathed the breath of life into our nostrils, and we took it in and became living souls. Became aware, became infilled with the Spirit, inspiration, the wisdom, the knowingness of life, of God itself. It's time to inhale, friends. We know the saying from that book, waiting to exhale, because we want to let go and we want to release everything, and we're just waiting for the time when we can just let it all go. And God is saying, I'm waiting for the time for you to breathe it all in. Take in my life force. Take in my energy. Breathe it in, and it is time for us to inhale. It is time for us to inhale that animating force of God, to breathe new life into our lives, new life into our situation, new life upon this planet, where we all can breathe in peace and harmony and love and connectedness. This is a moment. There's a reordering taking place and a rebalancing, a revitalization of life on the planet. And get this, we are all being given not only new lives, but new power, but new assignments. This is a time where we are each being given a new assignment. I was listening to Marianne Williamson on a conference that I attended last week, and she was talking about exactly what I'm speaking of, what's happening on the planet. And what she said was that everybody, since everything is topsy-turvy, we don't know where to go and how it's going to be, but everybody's being given a new assignment. Life as we did it before cannot be the same. That we must do it differently. We are actually being forced to reorder how life is happening and to get a new assignment. And I thought, oh, I love that. I'm being given a new assignment. And fear not. So what in your life is being reordered? What in your life is shifting and changing? What in your life is being undone and turned over? What's happening in your life, right? Fear not. Breathe through it. And know that God is still God, moving you and giving you a new expression of life into your very own life. And so we want to be able to practice conscious breathing. We breathe automatically, but we do so unconsciously. The call for us now, and the time is now for us to practice as a spiritual discipline, conscious breathing. Because it will heal the body, it will soothe and open the mind and the consciousness, and it will bring that threefold being of spirit, soul, and body into perfect alignment. And it's simple, and it's right here. And we can do it at any given point in time. In fact, I'm encouraging all of us to practice conscious breathing, not only just when you find yourself in stressful and trying situations and times, but to do it as a spiritual practice as often as you can, maybe even every hour on the hour. Take some time to just stop and breathe. Stop and get connected again to the breath of the Almighty. so that whatever needs to be understood and revealed and seen by you and felt by you and healed in your life and affairs and in your body has a chance to do that. Make it a spiritual practice and a spiritual discipline. It's simple. Now, here's the technique. There are many different breathing techniques, but I'll give you a simple one that I learned through my time of going into India a lot. And there are many ratios, but there's a simple ratio of breathing in 1 to 2. That's the ratio. So for every breath you take, double it in the exhale. For every inhale, double the exhale. So if you are breathing in for the count of 4, exhale for the count of 8. Slow and easy. 4, 8, or 3, 6, 2, 4. Whatever is comfortable for you, but whatever you take in, breathe out longer, twice as long. And here's the miracle that I think that takes place when we practice this type of breathing. When we're breathing in, it tells me and it reminds me that no matter how much of this holy breath that I'm able to take in one inhalation, if I can do it like maybe some yogis to a count of 12, if I can inhale for the count of 12, I can exhale for the count of 24. But what that says is that no matter how much I take in, that the Spirit of God is able to put out twice as much, even 3 times as much, because you can change the ratio as you get practice in this. That no matter what I think I'm taking in, God can put out more into my being. There's a multiplying factor that takes place when you inhale. God is multiplying and expanding the goodness and the presence of his own being as whatever we need. And there's more of it to be expressed, more goodness to be put out into the world and into our life and affairs. That's the power. That's a magical secret of how the divine is constantly blessing us. We opened this morning with that wonderful song, "Come Thou Fount of Blessings." The blessings are infinite. And God is able to give us infinitely more than we can even take in. There's a scripture that says, you know what? Test me and prove me, God says, and see if I will not pour you out such a blessing so great that you can't even take it all in. That's what's happening. That's the gift of being in touch with the living Spirit of God within us. God is waiting for you to inhale. God is waiting for you to take in new possibilities, new divine ideas, new expressions, new assignments. Fear not. Just breathe into it. Breathe into it. When a woman's giving birth, they say, breathe into the moment. Breathe into this birth that's happening. Breathe into this life that is coming to bear. It's a good time, friends. And I tell you, when you learn to inhale the presence of the divine, then God will move you into your next level of greatness and your next expression of life. Inhale, beloved ones. Take it all in, because it's only God, the good, the omnipotent. Namaste and blessings. Blessings. Thank you all. And so, I guess we'll have a meditation. Richard goes, well, whatever you want. I love that, though. The band is so wonderful. I was talking to them, I was actually talking with Rudy, and he doesn't even know how much he blessed me. But I was asking them about how they were still feeling. Do they feel good and safe that we're practicing social distancing, and what do they think about when the time comes of moving more people in? And Rudy said something so simple. He said to me, we follow your lead. And I thought, wow, yes. Just follow. We follow God's lead. And God is always leading and guiding us to our highest good. So take a moment and allow yourself to breathe. Breathe deeply and fully. And let go completely. Empty your lungs so that you might be able to inhale more of God's precious life. For with each inhalation, each breath you take, you are being renewed and restored. Your body is being healed. Your mind is expanding with new ideas, with wisdom from on high. And your spirit is allowed to run free, to be fully expressed in and through you as an expression of the divine. You are marvelously and wondrously made, for it is the breath of the Almighty that gives you life. Savor it. Receive it. And let it bless you. Let it guide and direct your every moment and move. Move with the Spirit. Surrender. Let go. And let God be God. God is waiting for you to inhale its presence, to take in its beauty, to be restored so that you may continue to be a vessel, an instrument for the Most High God, bringing light into our world, love into the world, peace into the world, truth into the world, your world. So just for a moment, just breathe deeply in silence and feel that presence that dwells within you. And just listen to the great invocation. You can do so in your heart. We affirm this every Sunday. And it says, from the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. And from the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May love increase on earth. And from the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. And from the center, which we call the human race, Let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where error dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And so it is, and so it shall be. And for this we are so grateful. Let us take a moment now for musical inspiration just before we close our service this morning. I'm not sure if it's the choir. Yes, it's wonderful. Unity of Washington, D.C.'s Sanctuary Choir. Wow, Unity of Washington, D.C. Sanctuary Choir. Of course, that was a pre-recorded concert that we have. And so once we open back up at some point in the future, we'll be having our choir concerts once again. But we wanted to just give you a taste, those of you who perhaps have not been here to worship with us and to celebrate with us. But that's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And we're so grateful for your being here with us this morning. Our affirmation, let's close with our wonderful affirmation. And it says this: with every breath I take in, I am filled with new life, new possibilities. I am energized and revitalized. I am waiting to inhale. Praise the good. And so it is. Amen and amen. Beloved ones, we're so grateful. We're thankful for you. And we also want to take this moment to bless our offering and our tithes that you so generously and freely share with this ministry, that enables us to be here as a beacon of light, a beacon of hope for all who are seeking light and hope. And we bless this offering knowing that it is the inexhaustible supply for our every need. It comes from this inexhaustible source that is God. And so here's our blessing. We can put it back up once again. It is divine love through me that blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so we offer you a hearty thanksgiving and a prayer. There are many ways that you can bless this ministry with your offerings. You can go on our website or stay on for the end of this service, and the trailing will tell you how you may truly be a blessing to us. And hopefully and prayerfully, it is my prayer that we are a blessing for you. Oh, come the fount of infinite blessings. God is good, my friends. Let us take it all in. Let us inhale. Namaste and be well. Blessings. Richard, choir, take it on home for our Richard Payne trio. Thank you for joining us.